Ladies, I am here tonight on the show. And tonight we're going to talk about Raw, Monday Night Raw. Let's see how this episode was. To me, it kind of sucked ass, but whatever. So the very segment, I look like a pendejo because I read an article that Randy Orton's going to take time off. And right off the bat, he's there sitting with Middle and the Alpha Academy. Pendejo first for me as a reporter. I need to look myself in the mirror, ask myself, am I about shit or simply full of shit? But hey, in this business, I'm mentally tough enough to be a pendejo sometimes. Anyways, so we start off with Matt Riddle and Randy Orton, the Alpha Academy. They do a academic test, I think it is, and they're answering a bunch of questions. They got sports questions and they got Hollywood questions. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with academics? But whatever. They go back and forth. Obviously, what's his name? Chad Gable acting like a pain in the ass. And then obviously he gets a few wrong. He looks like a pendejo. There's a point where Otis had the answer right, but what's his name? Chad Gable doesn't listen to him, and he gets the wrong answer, like a pendejo. Traumatized by the buzzer. Randy Orton and Riddle end up winning. They got a tag team match. I'm not sure when. It might be on Raw. I think it's going to be on Raw because obviously Elimination Chamber's coming up next weekend. Riddle's going to be in an Elimination Chamber, so it's probably going to be on Raw. What's his name? Chad Gable going crazy with the buzzer, looking like a pendejo, is traumatized. So the nerd community tells us again, and then that leads up to a tag team match. It's the Alpha Academy and versus the Street Profits. Whatever, good match. Whatever, Alpha Academy wins. And then after that, we get a good match. I think it was there's too many. We get then the next. I try to read the whole card, but man, I wish they would just write down the card. They write like fucking 3 paragraphs after each fucking card after each fucking match. We got the AJ Styles versus what's his name? Damian Priest. They're making Damian Priest look like a pendejo now. He wasn't even on Raw last week. At the Royal Rumble, he got eliminated pretty fast. Ever since Sonya had that talk with him about having to control himself, his anger. Remember, he would get angry and then get disqualified and shit. Ever since Sonya had that talk with him backstage, he's been losing a lot. He lost last week. I think he got eliminated very quick in the Royal Rumble, losing this week clean to AJ Styles. Now they're having a match next week for the United States champion. But I wonder where they're going to go with this because ever since Sonya told him to calm down and control his anger, he's been losing. So we'll see what happens next week with the match. But AJ Styles beats him. Next, we get I think we get the Miz and man, I wish I could find a better website, man. Too many paragraphs in between the matches. We get Miz TV with Maurice and the Miz and Damian Priest and not Damian Priest, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. Now I guess the Miz is gonna feud with Rey Mysterio. He years ago, about like 15, 20 years ago, they had a storyline where back then when Eddie Guerrero was still alive, about Eddie Guerrero being Dominic's father. And that's where the Miz goes to. He's like, you're taller than Ray. Are you sure you're not Eddie's son? And then they get into a fight. It leads up to a match between the Miz and Dominic, where the Dominic actually wins. Good for Dominic, man. He finally got the damn win, man. So Mysterio loses last week, but at least Dominic won this week, man. Ray lost last week. At least Dominic won this week, man. Then we get Bianca Belair versus Nikki Ass. I think they're just milking Bianca Belair. They're waiting for the feud between Becky Lynch and Lita to be over. And then I think Bianca Belair is going to start feuding with Becky Lynch for WrestleMania. Bianca Belair versus Nikki Ash. Bianca Bianca Belair wins, of course, whatever. Then we get Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory, where Kevin Owens is saying that, he tells Seth Rollins in the back, he's like, and we all said he looked like a pendejo last week listening to Austin Theory. So then this week, they have another match. I don't know for what reason, but Kevin Owens is like, if I win this match, they should put me in the Elimination Chamber, man. I redeemed myself. And Kev, even Seth tells him, I don't think it works like that, but whatever. He goes out, they have a great match. Kevin Owens wins it. And at the backstage, man, he's telling Adam Pearce and Sonya, I deserve this. The people in Texas love me and shit. And then Sonya's like, I don't even know if you're gonna make it to WrestleMania. And then so I wonder if they're gonna do like a storyline with him where he doesn't have any WrestleMania plans. And then in the last minute he gets a match. They've done this in the past, right? With Big Show, I think did it once. I think John Cena once didn't have any WrestleMania plans. He kept challenging The Undertaker, and the Undertaker didn't accept it, to the point where John Cena went to WrestleMania like the first hour as a fan until The Undertaker came out and accepted the challenge. So they've done this in the past with wrestlers where they're like, they don't have a WrestleMania plan. They're not going to WrestleMania. And then at the end, they end up getting a match at WrestleMania. That might be the way where they're going with Kevin Owens with this. We'll see what happens. And next we get... We get Liv Morgan versus Doudrop. Doudrop wins the match, which I find that interesting. I don't know, man. Doudrop, man. Jesus Christ. I don't know. And then we get the main event, Seth Rollins versus Matt Riddle, which it turns into a tag team match as Kevin Owens interferes in that match. Then obviously Randy Orton interferes in that match. It becomes a tag team match. And then it's Randy Orton and Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. It was a good match. It was pretty much the main event. Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens win it, which it was interesting because after the match, they were like, well, now what? Because Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins just beat the number one contenders for the damn. So I do wonder, like, if Seth Rollins, if he doesn't win the Elimination Chamber match, all of a sudden he doesn't have a plan either for WrestleMania. So could it be possible this was a way to plant the seeds to a Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens tag team, and that could lead up to challenging, whether it's the Alpha Academy or Matt Riddle and Randy Orton at WrestleMania? Maybe they have a triple threat match. Maybe Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. I thought it was interesting that after the match, Michael Cole, Jimmy Smith was like, well, what does this happen? What does this mean now? Because they just pinned the number one contenders for the tag team titles. So it could be very possible that Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens end up being in a tag team match at WrestleMania for the tag team title, whether it's against the Alpha Academy or Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. It could be possible. At the end there, Randy Orton hits an RKO on Kevin Owens, and then Rollins just walks away laughing, and that's the end of the show. But I thought that was interesting at the end there that the commentator was like really selling the fact that Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens have beaten the number one contenders. So and I'm thinking, yeah, it's very possible that if Seth Rollins does not win the Elimination Chamber, which is very likely, he can end up in a tag team match at WrestleMania with Kevin Owens versus the tag team champions, whether it's the Alpha or Randy and Riddle, which is not going to be very popular, but they could be heading that way, man. They could be heading that way as far as Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens goes. And apparently Randy Orton and Matt Riddle are not going to get split at all, for what I'm hearing, but we'll see what happens. All right, I thought this show was, there was a promo there by Bobby Lashley. Man, he's a heel, but he was trying to play the baby face because he wasn't in his hometown of Denver, but he just didn't have the personality. Man, he tried, but there's just he just doesn't have there's a reason why they have MVP on the microphone with him, because he just doesn't have a personality. He was trying to act like all cool and happy, and he tried, but he just didn't have the personality to talk on the microphone. But yeah, that was pretty much the show. You get more Alexa Bliss stuff backstage. You get maybe a romance starting between Riddle and what's his name? Reggie and what's the girl's name? The blonde girl. Uh, Sarah Pierce. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. What's that girl's name? Sarah Pierce, not Sarah Pierce. Dana Brooks. Dana Brooks. She kissed her in the cheek, and she thanks her for always being there for her. And then they're about to kiss in the lips, and then they get chased down by the rest of the fucking pendejos. Casio Tasawa and R-Truth and the rest of those idiots. But maybe a fucking romance building up between pendejo phase between Reggie and Dana Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, this show sucked ass. I don't think WWE is going hard right now because they're on Sci-Fi. They barely got 1 million views. They're promoting a bunch of shit for next week. So I think they know they have to promote their shit because they're not going to get a lot of views. I'm at like a light because they're on Sci-Fi and not on USA Network because of the Winter Olympics.